All right, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are joining us, and welcome to the 2021 Lanes End Press Pass. I'm Scott Hazelton. I'll be serving as your host here today, and most certainly we wish we could all be sitting in that beautiful stallion barn there at Lanes End, catching up and taking a look at these stallions and telling stories of the last year, but we all know the circumstances in which we are still facing here at the early portion of 2021. This is the third year that Lanes End has been kind enough to put this together for the press and give back to those of us that have committed ourselves to the industry through the media. And we certainly do appreciate their continued commitment to those of us in the media and how kind and they have been to us over the last several decades, bottom line, 40 plus years there at Lanes End. We will kick things off and go in alphabetical order of this Lanes End Stallion show and start with Accelerate. For more on Accelerate, here is noted bloodstock agent John Moynihan on his impression of Accelerate's first foals.
I first, noticed Accelerate, obviously, when he, won the Breeders' Cup and he came to stud, and I went out and looked at him, and physically, he's a beautiful horse, from the Smart Strike line, and if, he embodied, if he made pretty horses, I think he'd have a real chance at stud when he initially went to stud. And, what really caught my attention was this past November. And a lot of the consignments that I went to, starting in book one, book two, et cetera, every day that I'd go back through my notes and a lot of the good looking weanlings that I make my short list from, every day there was an Accelerate or two or three each day. And that's when I really started taking notice. I mean, he is really making a horse, producing a horse that kind of embodies himself. They're good looking, they're athletic, they're engineered to run. And that's what really caught my attention. Smart Strike's been, such an influence on our breed, as a great stallion, as a great broodmare sire. Of course, we have Curlin, at Stone Street, who's also by Smart Strike. So it, kind of holds a special place in, our spot. And, I think, he's got a real chance to make it. These horses, when they produce physical horses that are athletic and are engineered to run, it's been my experience over the years that those are the ones that tend to get runners, at different points in their career, whether it be 2-year-olds, whether it be 3-year-olds. But they definitely get runners, at some point. And I think that's very encouraging for Accelerate. It's been my experience that, if they produce really pretty foals, they're going to produce pretty yearlings. And a lot of times those pretty yearlings turn out to be pretty 2-year-olds. And when they're pretty, when they're engineered to run like that, they usually get runners. The first impressions were, obviously people gravitate and always have expectations for the really high-priced stallions that go to stud regarding their stud fees, the high-priced stud fees. What really caught my eye with Accelerate, he's at a price point in the market where he's extremely affordable to breeders that, that can also produce a horse that can sell for many more times the stud fee that it costs to breed the horse. And I think with Accelerate, that's a huge advantage, to a breeder.
And that price point for Accelerate, the 5-time Grade 1 winner, $17,500 is what he stands for in 2021 at Lanes End Farm. Some high praise from one of the top eyes, top minds in the bloodstock world, that being John Moynihan. We move on to the stalwart that is Candy Ride, and let's go to pedigree consultant Alan Porter on Candy Ride's lasting impact on the breed.
To look at the impact of Candy Ride properly, it's probably very helpful to place him in context, to remember that he came from Argentina, where he was unbeaten in 3 starts, was champion miler, winning 2 Grade 1 races there. And then in the US, he was 3 for 3 also, won an allowance on the dirt, the American handicap on the turf, and then final start trying 10 furlongs for the first time, gave an astonishing display in the Pacific Classic, where he beat Medagliadoro by nearly 4 lengths, set a new track record and won a Bayer speed figure of 123. Now, despite that, he went to stud on the heels of some other South American horses that had been disappointing at stud. And in terms of stud fee, he started off with a very, very modest stud fee with fairly low expectations. Despite that, he then came up with Grade 1 winners Misremembered, Captain Candyman, El Brujo, and Eva Argentina in his first crop. Then he came up with Twirling Candy and Sydney's Candy, both Grade 1 winners in his second crop. And he's never looked back from then. And for the better part of a decade, he's been a horse you've had to consider when you're doing mating plans for major stud farms. When you look to the future of Candy Ride and you look to see where his sire line might go with his sons, the prospects are very promising. I mean, he's still at stud. He's still receiving top-class mares. We've got a lot to come. But he's already had 4 sons who sired graded stakes winners. He's got 6 young sons at stud in Kentucky at the moment. Now, you've got the oldest of these is Twirling Candy. He's already established himself as a graded stakes sire, consistent graded stakes sire. He's already got a Grade 1 winning son, Giftbox, who retires to stud for this coming year. He's got another horse, Collusion Illusion, who's a Grade 1 winning sprinter last year, who will probably be at stud in the near future. So he's already extending the generation of the Candy Ride line. Of the other 5 sons at stud in Kentucky, 2 are champions, and one's going to be an Eclipse Award finalist this year. If you take those by age, you've got Gun Runner, who was a horse of the year. You've got Unified, a 3-time graded stakes winner and a Grade 1 placed horse that came very close to winning a Grade 1 in the Carter. You've got Mastery, who's an undefeated Grade 1 winner. You have Game Winner, undefeated champion 2-year-old Breeders' Cup winner. So, you've got top-class horses there, all well-received, all with terrific opportunities.
And certainly continues to make an impact himself. Here's a horse that we just saw debuted at Santa Anita last week by the name of Rock Your World, who was so impressive at Santa Anita, going 6 furlongs out of the chute. So Candy Ride continuing to produce, standing for $75,000 at Lanes End Farm for 2021. Let's move on to a horse that we were introduced to last year, a horse that is nicknamed the Cruiser, one of the best looking ones, Catalina Cruiser.
Catalina Cruiser. He won 7 of 9 starts coast to coast with 6 triple-digit buyers and 5 dominating graded stakes wins, including a record in the Grade 2 True North Stakes, a son of leading 5th crop sire Union Rags, a $370,000 yearling with an imposing physical, and one of the best of his generation. There's only one Catalina Cruiser, now standing at Lane's End.
There truly is only one Catalina Cruiser. I had the pleasure of being out here on the West Coast and watching this horse and getting a chance to see him firsthand. Just a remarkable individual who'll be standing for $15,000 here in 2021, and a man that really has had a big hand from start to now. Where he's at right now is David and Gordo. David, explain to our folks out there that are joining us how impactful this horse was during his racing career.
The True North, in doing this, you go back and you're studying about these horses, and his True North was as good a race as any horse ran in 2019. And we were a little disappointed at the Breeders' Cup that he didn't win. John was as confident as I've ever seen him in both years that we ran there. But I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for words with him, because when I see those pictures, I hadn't gone and seen him in a while, and he's just matured and about as good a horse talent-wise as we have in the Stallion Barn up there.
What has been the impressions from those that have had a chance? Have you heard from folks that have had a chance to come out and see him at the farm, David?
I always tease everybody. They'll say, "Oh, you like all your horses." And I'll say, "Listen, if you drive out here or fly or whatever and you don't like them, I'll pay for your gas." I've yet to pay for anybody's gas yet.
Well, that certainly is something. And Catalina Cruiser, like I said, we had a chance, for those of us who were lucky enough to come out last year to see him when he was introduced. He is a stunning individual. He truly is Lane's End through and through, once again standing for $15,000 in 2021. Let's move on to City of Light and to noted bloodstock agent Mike Ryan talking about City of Light's appeal.
City of Light, he's a magnificent physical, an unbelievable equine specimen. I think he was one of the most highly recruited horses of his generation. Every major stud farm was trying to get him to stand as a stallion. And for obvious reasons, he was the complete package. He's a magnificent individual. He has a top-class pedigree, and his race record is incredible. Grade 1 winner at 3, 4, and 5, over 7 furlongs, a mile, and a mile and an eighth. And that's hard to accomplish. Very few horses can boast that. He's one of the nicest looking horses standing at stud in central Kentucky today, in my opinion. It wasn't a surprise to me that his foals look so good, because I have found through the years that these magnificent looking stallions like Alidar's Secretariat, Deputy Minister, they have the gene strength to reproduce themselves. And when they're really, really good physicals, it seems to be pretty common fact that they'll transmit them to their offspring. And it was no exception in this horse. His foals were very well grown. They had size, substance, quality, strength, and they had an aura of class and presence about them. There was an eliteness to them. They're good movers. They were very consistent. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't just that one or two were big selling horses. 12 or 14 sold. They averaged 216. The median was 172. That's average was 6 times the stud fee, and the median was 5 times the stud fee. Pretty extraordinary for a first crop sire. But they were consistently well-made, well-conformed, quality horses. And the market he was second only to Justify as a freshman sire in his average and median. And as a breeder, I have a share in the horse, and I have 2 homebreds by him, and they are very, very good. So what we saw on the farm from a small sample was consistent with what we saw when they were presented at the sales.
City of Lights standing for $40,000, and a horse that really closed out his career with a bang with his wins in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, and then capping it off with that sensational run at Gulfstream Park in the Pegasus World Cup. He'll be standing again for $40,000 in 2021. Let's move along to the next stallion, Connect.
Connect, the next in line to carry on Lane's End's tried and true stallion tradition. A Grade 1 winning millionaire's son of Curlin, physically impressive and dominant on the track. Winner of the Grade 1 Cigar Mile and the Grade 2 Pennsylvania Derby, where he defeated Gunrunner, Nyquist, and Exaggerator. With multiple 6-figure yearlings in his first crop, up to $360,000. Connect, a proven winner on the track, a proven stallion in the making.
Obviously, being a son of Curlin and his race record speaks for itself, but I want to bring in Lane's End's Alaire Ryan to discuss Connect. And what has been the feedback of the first group of horses that we've seen from the son of Curlin, Connect?
Hi, Scott. Yeah, it's definitely an exciting time of year to kind of poll the pre-training centers that have these now 2-year-olds by first crop stallions like Connect. And in talking to several of them that are in Ocala, the consensus was the Connects are very nice, and there's a lot of resemblance of the stallion, not just in the physicals that they have, but the way they move, the ability that they're showing with what they're being asked of so far at these training centers. Eddie Woods had Connect as a young horse, and he said he has a number of them, in fact, for the late Mr. Pompa as well. And he said they're all quiet, very classy acting horses that train honestly. So he's very pleased with what he's seen of them so far. And he thinks that, like the stallion, they're probably going to take some time. Connect did start in the fall of his 2-year-old year, but didn't break his maiden until May of his 3-year-old campaign, and then capped that off with wins in the Pennsylvania Derby and the Cigar Mile. A couple other people that I've talked to in Ocala have said that Carl Keegan, for example, said he's got a 2-turn filly that has a lot of quality, but she also trains with a bit of pace too. So she might be one that heads to the OBS March sale She's definitely a select type. And he said he's also got a colt that is just a beast of a horse. Now, Brennan mentioned that he's got a filly that's just so straightforward. She's going to sell herself based off the way she trained. So there's some positive energy going on down there. Obviously, they're looking forward to asking a little bit more of them as they kind of figure out what they're pointing towards the select 2-year-old sales and which ones will be kind of kept to race. But there's plenty to be excited about. And the consensus was that the Connects are training as good as any 2-year-olds by proven stallions that are down there. So that was exciting to hear.
Great stuff, Hilaire. And Connect, you'll look for him at Lane's End in 2021 for $15,000. We move along to a horse that made quite a splash in the racing scene in America, and Lane's End did along with him, and that is Daredevil, the sire of She Dares the Devil, and of course Swiss skydiver. Chance Tim of Lane's End joins us now to discuss Daredevil. How big was this to get him to Lane's End?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. It was huge, obviously. I mean, as it's been publicized, most every major farm was after him, so we feel very fortunate to have him. And, I think for me, we're all aware of his accomplishments, but, it's important to put into perspective just how remarkable they are. For example, when She Dares the Devil and Swiss Skydiver were 1-2 in the Kentucky Oaks, that's only happened 12 times in history. That's 585 runnings of classic races where a sire is sired the 1-2. It's just unbelievable. He's the only first crop sire to ever have an individual winner of Preakness and the Oaks. Medaglia did it with Rachel Alexandra, and he obviously needs no introduction as to what he's achieved in his career. He's among the best stallions this year, Curlin and Tappet with 2 individual Grade 1 winners. So this all puts him in rarefied air. And, I think what's most impressive is these 2 fillies are really what makes Grade 1 American dirt racing what it is. They have speed, they show speed, they press the pace, and they don't stop. And they can win these top class races going long on the dirt. And that's really what American racing is all about. So, this horse is doing something pretty remarkable, and we feel very fortunate to have him. And I think that he's very much poised to continue to do that. He's from a very important sire line. He's the only proven son of Morgan Ready in Central Kentucky. That sire line is already fairly rare in this country. So, he has a very unique capability to do what he's doing, and also a very unique position to carry on a very important sire line for this country and the breed.
Well, we applaud you for getting him back here into the United States, and certainly breeders, buyers, the thoroughbred racing world is happy to have Daredevil back here in the United States. He'll stand in 2021, he'll stand for $25,000 at Lane's End. We move along in our stallion parade virtually as we move on to the champion game winner.
As a 2-year-old, he was just phenomenal. I think that 2-year-old form is so important, especially when they can take it to that championship level, and he brought it to that championship level. Rebel Stakes, he still ran the most impressive race, just getting beat in the nose by Omaha Beach. He was a brilliant racehorse. He showed brilliance, and he throws brilliance. And game winner, the minute he showed that brilliance, I knew right there we had something really special.
Champion 2-year-old game winner. Undefeated as a juvenile, including 3 Grade 1 wins in the Del Mar Futurity, American Pharoah Stakes, and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. By perennial leading sire, Candy Ride. From the immediate female family of champion Fleet Indian. New for 2021.
In his first year at stud, he will stand for $30,000 at Lane's End Farm. And it's my pleasure now to bring in Mr. Bill Farish to talk about this latest champion to be added to the Lane's End Stallion roster. And first of all, Bill, we appreciate you having us here in this press event virtually via Lane's End. But why was it so important to get game winner to Lane's End?
Well, first of all, Scott, welcome everybody. I apologize for having a hard time getting on, but Scott, I think you said it all in that ad for us. He was a very important horse for us to get because for a lot of reasons, but we sold him as a yearling to Gary and Mary West. He, by Candy Ride out of an APNE mare, he just has so many things that it's almost surprising we don't have the honor of having bred him, because he's bred exactly how we would hope. But to have him go on from the yearling sales and run early as a 2-year-old, win 3 grade 1s, become champion 2-year-old, we were very, very keen to get him at that point. And then unfortunately, so was everybody else. So we had quite a negotiation to get him. But he just is a very exciting young horse, and so far the breeders have really responded. He's got a phenomenal first book so far, and he's closed down already, and that's a great sign for any young horse.
It certainly is, and the champion game winner standing for $30,000. Again, that will be his initial stud fee at Lane's End for 2021. We move along to another new stallion at Lane's End, another grade 1 winner, Gift Box.
Introducing Gift Box, winner of the Grade 1 Santa Anita Handicap. He's a 3-time graded stakes winning millionaire with 4 triple-digit buyers and a 4 Ragazin to his name. He proved himself early as a graded stakes place 2-year-old, and now his career as a stallion is just getting started. From the first crop of the leading sire Twirling Candy out of a multiple graded stakes producing mare. Gift Box, new for 2021, only at Lane's End.
And he will start off for $10,000 at Lane's End in 2021, his first year at Stallion. Alice Empson of Lane's End Farm joins me here to discuss Gift Box. Alice, first of all, good afternoon. Secondly, what kind of a horse is he like to be around?
He's a really nice horse to be around. We did raise him from a weanling to a yearling. Unlike a lot of the candy rides and Twirling Candies, they're very amenable horses, good-minded, and I think that's a big part of the equation down the road. I think trainers are able to get the most out of these horses because they're willing to work and they want to work. I think he'd be very attractive to a lot of breeders for several reasons. He's a very consistent, durable horse. He ran 18 times and was only off the board twice. From a physical standpoint, you can see why he was so durable and consistent. He's very correct, great through his knees. He's got a big fluid walk, like a lot of the Twirling Candies do. From a pedigree standpoint, I think at this price point, you'll find a lot of horses that were just kind of have weak pedigrees and were a flash in the pan, that just outran their pedigrees. But this horse is out of an exceptional mare that's had 3 graded stakes winners. She's a half sister to a grade 1 winner. So he really ran true to his pedigree. And, at the price point we have him, I think he ought to be very attractive to breeders, especially being free from Stormcat and APND, which are both lines that have been very successful with the Twirling Candy and Candy Ride cross.
Well, as you said, the price point is right there to jump in. $10,000 for Gift Box, the grade 1 winner, good-looking gray, new to Lane's End in 2021. Speaking of good-looking horses, we move along to Honor AP.
Honor AP showed a lot of talent in the sense that he got over the ground really nicely. When he was working, it almost seemed effortless, and he never really hit the ground so lightly, and he got into his next stride so easily that it was always a little deceiving. So as a trainer, you're watching your horse work and you're getting a feeling for how he's doing. And then you look down at the stopwatch and you go, oh my gosh, he actually did that. And that's the feeling I got with Honor AP. Well, he was precocious. He won as a 2-year-old. He won going around 2 turns as a 2-year-old. So I think that showed a lot of ability. Well, repeatable performances starts early in a horse. When you start to work them, you like to see them to be able to repeat that workout over again and just take that speed that they showed at a half and go to 5 with it or go to 6 with it. So a horse being able to repeat that is very important. And then when you get to the afternoons, because there's a lot more going on for a horse to adjust to in the afternoon, and their adrenaline's really pumping. So you think sometimes, I wonder if they overdid it, and can they do it again? Can they get to that same level or improve? And so that's, I think, the really important thing. When a horse performs at a very high level, if they're in the 90s and the 100 buyers and they're doing it repeatedly, that's a great indication of a really nice horse. It was good because his talent made him good. He was not particularly mature. He was not really a mature 2-year-old, but his talent made him seem to be that way. He always got over the ground well. That's one of the first things I noticed about him was how lightly he got over the ground. He never pounded it, and he was really, really good with a huge stride, a length of stride you can't believe. So just his sheer talent made him a threat as a 2-year-old. When he got a little bit older, he got stronger, which is something you look for. He got stronger, he got bigger, and so he was maturing, but he was not maturing quickly. So I think he was one of those athletes that was just ahead of this class. Honor AP is a very intense horse. He's 100% man, as you would say. You know, he's just a big, strong guy, and his qualities are really amazing because he has a forearm like Paul Bunyan has a forearm, right? He's just strong. You just see his strength. And then he's got a nice long back that gives him a great length of stride. And his hocks, he's got hocks that are very clean and large and strong. So he's got a lot of drive from his hind end. So his conformation is just perfect for a racehorse.
And John Sheriff's even said in that same interview that he thinks that he might be the best 3-year-old that he's ever trained. And that's saying something considering he'd won the Kentucky Derby in the past. And high praise from John Sheriff's on Honor AP, and talk about a great starting price point, standing for $15,000 his first year at stud in 2021 at Lane's End. We move along in alphabetical order to the next good-looking horse at Lane's End, Honor Code.
From Lane's End Farm, Honor Code, a son of AP Indy out of Serena's Cat by Stormcat, the last great son of AP Indy, a multiple Grade 1 winner on the track, and an Eclipse champion. Honor Code is now the sire of the brilliant Grade 1 winner Honor AP, who defeated Authentic in the Grade 1 Santa Anita Derby by a resounding 2 3/4 lengths. Honor Code is also the sire of another talented colt in the form of Max Player, winner of the Grade 3 Wither Stakes and placed in the Belmont and Travers, both Grade 1s. A top 10 second crop sire, Honor Code had 4 yearlings bring 200,000 or more in 2020, including a colt that sold to Centennial Farm for 260,000. From Lane's End Farm, Honor Code.
The stunning Honor Code will stand for $20,000 in 2021. And here's some names that are progeny of Honor Code to keep an eye on 2021. A horse that I think that we're certainly aware of. Withers winner Max Player. He's working forwardly at Fairgrounds. Honor Rafik, she was second in a stake just on the 1st of January here in 2021 at Gulfstream Park. She's a 3-year-old filly who could easily find herself on the Kentucky Oaks Trail. That's Honor Rafik. And then Creed, a $650,000 yearling that won his last 2 races by a combined 9 lengths. Again, that is Creed. So 3 names, sons and daughters of Honor Code, that certainly could make a big run here in 2021. We move along to a horse that we're very familiar with at Lane's End, Lemon Drop Kid.
Well, Lemon Drop Kid is extremely influential for a lot of reasons on pedigree as well as performance. He's the sire of 97 black type winners, 9 Grade 1 winners, and he's the broodmare sire of 64 black type winners and 12 greater Group 1 winners. So he is an absolutely top-class stallion. And on pedigree, he's by King Mambo, and he's out of Charming Lassie by Seattle Slew. That mare is a half the Weekend Surprise, who's the dam of AP Indy. So these two stallions, both bred by Messrs. Farish and Kilroy, are very special to Lane's End as well. King Mambo stood there. AP Indy stood there. Lemon Drop Kid stands there. Lemon Drop Kid and AP Indy were both Belmont Stakes winners as well. Lemon Drop Kid was a champion as well at 4. He was a black type winner at 2, 3, and 4. And so he represents a really important sire line. That is the sire line of Mr. Prospector through King Mambo, which is very rare here, by the way. But Lemon Drop Kid is one of the last few sires by that line. But that line is extremely huge in Japan right now because, as you know, that filly Amandai, the top-rated horse in the world, is by Lord Kanaloa, a son of King Kamehameha, a son of King Mambo. So it's a very relevant line internationally. The Lemon Drop Kid, his influence as a broodmare sire is a product of the pedigree, really. I mean, it's that female line of Lassie Deer, and the family has always done well with mares. Right now, he has his most notable mare is his G1 Kentucky Oaks winner, Lemons Forever, who was a Kentucky Broodmare of the Year. She's the dam of 2 Grade 1 winners, Eclipse Award winner Forever Unbridled, and her sister Unbridled Forever. And, you know, his influence is just going to grow, Scott. He's got 2 Grade 1 winners as a broodmare sire by Medaglia d'Oro, Bar of Gold and Locte. He's also got a Grade 1 winner in Europe by Frankel named Without Parole. Now, Without Parole, Locte, Bar of Gold, they were by stallions from the Sadler's Wells line as well. So this is a great combination, always has been, of Sadler's Wells combining really well with King Mambo. And it's a line, by the way, that also adds a lot of stamina to pedigrees, which is something that, you know, we need these days. And really, for the price that Lemon Drop Kid is standing in 2021, it's astounding, really. I mean, his age has really led to why he's standing for a lower fee, but for $15,000, he's an unbelievable stallion, even at his age.
And that being Sid Fernando with the breakdown on Lemon Drop Kid, the pedigree consultant. And he stands for 15,000 in 2021. If you haven't seen a horse by the name of King Angelo, he's a horse that I got a chance to see run on debut on the 20th of December, ran a massive second from an inside post at Aqueduct. So King Angelo, a son of Lemon Drop Kid that you're certainly going to want to keep an eye on out in New York for this upcoming season. We move along to one of my personal favorites, the Breeders' Cup winner, multiple Grade 1 winner, Liam's Map.
Wicked Whisper is just a beautiful daughter of Liam's Map that owned by Alex and Joanne Lieblong. First time I got to see her was at Robbie Harris's farm when she was training. Very fortunate to have her come into the barn with her beautiful first win at Saratoga. First time out. Filly's just obviously gorgeous, but tremendous personality, easy to be around, all class. Won her first race very impressively. Followed that up with the Frisette. With the Frisette score. So no doubt about her Grade 1 quality, and just very fortunate to be involved with her. She's a very strong filly, comes from a very good family. awfully correct, just very straightforward, businesslike. That conformation-wise, you can see why she was such an expensive yearling. 2020 has been a difficult year with the cancellations and the change in the schedule early, and I thought it affected her considerably right when we were expecting to start running her. Most of racing canceled, and we've regrouped, and she's had a couple of very good runs late in the year, and we're expecting a very strong 4-year-old campaign with her. We will start her 2021 off at Oaklawn Park. I've been fortunate to have some very nice Liam's Map. Basin also, won the hopeful as a 2-year-old out of the first crop of Liam's Map. Very correct, attractive, good moving colt that is, got moved up in this year's Arkansas Derby, and he will horse that will have the option of running for a long time. Liam's Map himself is a beautiful horse with an elite level of ability that he's passed along as we've covered. I've been fortunate to have 2 Grade 1 winners by Liam's Map, and am hopeful to have more in the future.
Hall of Famer Steve Asmussen, trainer of 2 Grade 1 winners from the first crop of Liam's Map, Basin, as well as Wicked Whisper. A horse that certainly we'll be talking about here in the not too distant future by Liam's Map, Colonel Liam, a horse that could make a big splash in the Pegasus World Cup turf. Liam's Map standing for $30,000 with that brilliant race record, production, as well as pedigree. We move along to the horse of the year, Mineshaft.
From Lane's End Farm, Mineshaft, a son of AP Indy, out of Prospector's Delight by Mr. Prospector. Mineshaft has been one of the most productive sons of AP Indy at stud. He's the sire of over 50 stakes winners, no fewer than 22 graded winners, and 111 stakes horses. His 6 Grade 1 winners include stars like FNX, It's Tricky, Discreetly Mine, and Weep No More, as well as Dialed In, who is now making a name for himself at stud. Notably, Mineshaft is a top 15 sire by average earnings index, ahead of the likes of Uncle Mo, Malibu Moon, Street Sense, and Empire Maker. And in 2019, his yearlings have sold for up to $380,000. From Lane's End Farm, Mineshaft.
And the great pillar that is Mineshaft, standing for $15,000 at Lane's End, added another Grade 1 winner to his resume following True Timber's Grade 1 performance and win in the Cigar Mile back in December. And Mr. Speaker is our next stallion here in the Lane's End Stallion preview as we take a look back at Mr. Speaker's Grade 1 winner speech.
They're off in the Central Bank Ashland. En Vuitante, Venetian Harbor, joined by Speech up on the far outside. Venetian Harbor will have the early lead and will guide the field down toward the first turn, as Speech will go second up on the outside. En Vuitante is in third. A quick check over the left shoulder there from Jose Ortiz as he tries to find some running room down closer to the rail. Carefully starts to move up from in between horses and tries to slide down toward the inside. Bonnie South is fourth up on the outside. Alta's Award is fifth early on. It was 24.04 seconds. The time for the opening quarter. Venetian Harbor, the leader. Venetian Harbor on top, a length and a half. Speech travels in second on the outside, 3/4 of a length. And then En Vuitante in third, a length and a half, followed by Bonnie South, who is fourth by a length. Alta's Award, fifth and last, but right there with the rest as they reach the midpoint of the backstretch. Venetian Harbor, the leader for Joel Rosario. It was 47.14 seconds the time for the opening half mile. Speech on the outside in second. En Vuitante to close third, right behind the leader down toward the inside. And then Bonnie South outward from the rail in fourth, 3 lengths off the lead, and a gap of 5 more back to Alta's Award as they move midway on the far turn. Venetian Harbor still the leader. Now here comes Speech, making a more serious bid for the lead as they come to the quarter pole. Half length separate the top two. They've opened up by 6 lengths on En Vuitante and Bonnie South, long way back to Alta's Award. They turn into the short stretch. Speech, Venetian Harbor. These two going at it as they come toward the final furlong of the Central Bank Ashland. Speech with a narrow lead. Speech now drawing clear by 2 from Venetian Harbor. En Vuitante and Bonnie South. It is Speech and Javier Castellano to win the Central Bank Ashland.
So the grade 1 winner, Speech, the daughter of Mr. Speaker, winning the grade 1 Central Bank Ashland. Keep in mind, she ran 6 furlongs in 109 and 2 and would go on and win that race at a mile and a 16th. The grade 1 Central Bank Ashland, he will stand for $5,000 in 2021. Let's move along to one of the top stallions in Central Kentucky, Quality Road.
Quality Road, proving Lane's End's tried and true stallion making formula. A formula that leads to success for our partners and our stallions. Quality Road has sired multiple Eclipse Award and grade 1 winners, including champion 2-year-old filly Caledonia Road, champion 3-year-old filly Abel Tasman, and grade 1 winners City of Light and Salty. And with $1 million progeny in the sales ring, he's a leader of his generation. Quality Road, a stallion that stands above the rest.
And stands for $150,000 in 2021 at Lane's End. Want to bring back in Mr. Bill Ferris to talk about Quality Road. And what does it mean to have Quality Road standing at Lane's End to you?
Well, Scott, he was a horse. Obviously, we were very, very close to the late Ned Evans, and he really was a horse that we followed very closely. Ned wanted him to stand here, which we were thrilled with. And initially, Ned kept the whole horse. Unfortunately, he passed away after his first breeding season, and we subsequently have syndicated him. But he's been so successful, and it's been an interesting case study to watch his stud fee rise. I think this year he had a very good year, both in the sales ring and on the racetrack. This crop of 2-year-olds, or the 2020 crop of 2-year-olds, were bred at a stud fee of $35,000. He then jumped to $70,000. So the 2-year-olds for this upcoming year will be at a much higher stud fee, and then he went to $150 from there, and has just had phenomenal mares. So we're very excited about his 2-year-olds, his yearlings, his foals. He's got so much in front of him, and having already sired, I think it's 11 grade 1 winners now. He's just a very special horse to us, and we look forward to what he has in store in the future. But even this year at the broodmare sale, he was the leading covering sire by median and average, which is pretty phenomenal. So he's a great horse to have, and we're lucky to have him.
Exciting times ahead, most certainly. $150,000 is what Quality Road will stand for in 2021. We'll move along to the Factor, and for more on the Factor, here is Brad Cox on one of the Factor's top performers in Factor This.
Factor This had a great campaign in 2020. He was able to win the Grade 3 Fairgrounds Handicap, Grade 2 Merva Muniz, followed up by the Wise Dan at Churchill, and then ran a big race in the Grade 1 here at Churchill on Kentucky Derby Day. He followed up the Grade 1 placing with a Grade 2 victory in the dinner party at Pimlico. So he's been a very consistent horse all year. Earned top buyer for older male on the turf this year, around 2 turns, I think, with a 110 buyer. So very athletic horse that had a lot of speed, that was able to carry around 2 turns. He's very durable. I mean, he's he's got a solid 30 starts underneath his belt now in his career. We have another 2-year-old filly, Saranya, that was an expensive 2-year-old in training purchase for Peachtree Stable, John Fort, that has been placed a few times here at Churchill, and she's down south at the fairgrounds now, looking for big things out of her in 2021. Factor This accounts for a very small portion of the Factor's earnings in 2020. So I think that he's a very solid sire from top to bottom, and very affordable sire in the sales market. He's very durable, dual surface sire that I think has a big future.
And there's no question. And Brad Cox, certainly one of the favorites for top trainer of 2020. Factor This, I think you've got to factor him right into the equation and conversation for top male, older male, when it comes to the turf division in the Eclipse Awards of 2020. So the Factor standing for a great price, $17,500 in 2021. We move along to another Grade 1 winner, Tonalist. For more on Tonalist, we go to pedigree journalist Chris McGraw.
First thing I love about Tonalist is his page. With any stallion, we're looking for physique, pedigree, performance, 3 Ps. But in the round, unmistakably, there is a ton of 2-turn class supporting Tonalist. Dam, as we say, by Pleasant Colony, sire, grandson of AP Indy out of an unbridled mare, with second dam by Indiginski. So sure enough, Tonalist came to fame by spoiling the California Chrome Party in the Belmont, but I just love the way he matched that ability to stretch his speed. Dual win of the Jockey Club Gold Cup, remember, with top-class form at a mile, winding up with success in the Grade 1 Cigar Mile, and out finishing all bar his studmate now, Honor Code, in the Met Mile. So this was a real throwback career, banking him $3.6 million. So while there's no doubt fast mares will complement that 2-turn depth to his page, let's remember that this was an absolute machine of a racehorse who uses great stride with equal effect at 8 and 12 furlongs. Now, Tonalist is a big guy, a good 17 hands, I would imagine, with a lot of that Pleasant Colony height and range and masculinity to him. So no wonder he adored that big oval at Belmont. But he carries himself so classily. The mechanics are tremendous. If you look at him walk, you see there's nothing coarse about him. He organized himself so smoothly, so efficiently. I mean, he accumulated 11 triple-digit bears in graded stakes. 11. I mean, you could absolutely set your clock to Tonalist. And this athleticism he has means that he should be a much more versatile physical match than many other big stallions. And on the early evidence, we're going to see a lot of that raking stride of his in his stock too, allied to the guts that were also his hallmark. So if you just look at the way Country Grammar scrapped in emulating his sire success in the Peter Pan in the summer, it was moved to Saratoga, unflinching as he went through that gap to cut the corner into the stretch, and then rallying so gamely when he was headed halfway down the stretch. So they have his bone, they have his structure, but most importantly, they have the heart that's housed by all that timber. So the key is to remember that Tonalist has barely started. He himself thrived as a 4-year-old, and I'm confident that we're going to see the same from his first crop in 21. It's very promising that his third book was bigger than his second. So breeders obviously like what was coming off the conveyor belt from the outset.
And quite a package and quite a price point for 2021 for Tonalist. $12,500 is what he will stand for at Lane's End this upcoming breeding season. We move on in our virtual stallion parade here for Lane's End to the ultra versatile Twirling Candy.
Twirling Candy is a stallion that we got heavily invested in over the last few years. You know, he brought himself to our attention. You know, every time you pick up a paper, you see whether it's a 5-furlong turf sprint or a 1.16 dirt route, he's there. And he's 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds. His crops have really started to rise to the top now. You know, he's got 5 or 6 crops on the track, but I think with the fact that he's got 4 individual Grade 1 winners, he's double-digit stakes horses, he made a great impression on us, and he's really started to make a wonderful impression on us this year at the sales. We found 4 or 5 yearlings with Donato and Bob and the team to go into training next year. And that's pretty amazing. It's hard for them to jump through the hoops that we expect them to jump through. They're big, they're robust, they're strong, they're good movers, great attitudes. They've got balance, size, scope, and strength. You know, they've got everything that you want to go into a high-level training camp with Eddie Woods and head out to California to Bob Baffert. So, you know, he really has made a very good impression on us in the sales ring. His fertility is amazing. When you do all the diligence on Twirling Candy, you will find he's covered, I believe, somewhere in the range of 450 mares in the last 3 years. He's got mares from all the good breeders in the country at the moment. He's a horse that's just making the right steps in the right direction. He's gone from 15 to 20 to 25 to 40, and we see future growth in him. We really do. He's a horse that he reminds us a lot of a horse that, like, we invested at this kind of stage in a horse like Speightstown. We've invested in horses like Flatter and More Than Ready and Pioneer Denial, and you know, they all had the same attributes at this exact period in their evolution. So, you know, Twirling Candy feels to us like a horse he's everybody's horse. He's a horse that everybody can use. He's a horse that suits a lot of different mares, you know, and he's a great horse to get a young mare off to a start. So, you know, we feel we're only really skimming the surface with Twirling Candy at the moment, and there's a lot more to come. You know, one of the best the best ways to compare him is to his own sire in Candy Ride, and right now he's sitting, I believe, only 2 or 3 winners behind Candy Ride at the exact same period in time, and with 20 or 30 less runners than Candy Ride had to accomplish that. So, you know, we feel strongly he's on track to become an elite stallion,
if he's not already there, and he will be standing Twirling Candy for $40,000 in 2021. And you think of the versatility and the types of runners that he gets. Grade 1 winner, Concrete Rose or Route Philly on the turf course. Broker Maiden going 5/8 of a mile, 5.5 first time out. Gift Box, who we introduced you to. Finley's Lucky Charm, a proper female sprinter on the dirt. And then Morticia, a top sprinter on the turf for many years. So very, very good things to come from Twirling Candy. We move along to Unified. And for more on Unified, we'll go to Kenny McPeak, trainer, on why he gravitated to Unified offspring so much over the course of recent sales.
So why does a guy like me go to a horse sale and buy 6 Unifieds in 2020? They look the part. And for me, I go look at horses, I look at their bodies, the way they're made, the way they move. I was impressed. No major particular reason why I actually gravitated to the Unifieds other than their looks. And every one of them I saw, it seemed like was better than the next. And I've got a list of clients that like the physical kind of horses, and our fingers are crossed that they make stars in 2021 and 2022. He's a stallion that I think stamps his stock, and every one of them I saw had a great hind leg, great shoulders, nice balance. I love the Candy Ride line, and I think Candy Ride and his sons are going to be important in the next several years. The Unifieds that we have breaking at our training center in Florida, Summerfield Training Center, are doing super. They've got good minds on them. The Unifieds are good-bodied horses, and everything we've seen up to this point, we're excited about Unified. I think Unified, of any stallion that I've seen out of the 2020 first crop stallions, Unified's got a huge chance. Yeah.
And you consider what Kenny has done over the course of the years in finding horses. That is quite something. The fact that he purchased and acquired so many sons and daughters of Unified over the most recent sales. Exciting times for Unified moving forward. We move along to the next U in our Lions and Stallion parade. That is Union Rags.
Union Rags, proving Lane's End's tried and true stallion making formula. A formula that leads to success for our partners and our stallions. He's a leader in his sire crop by graded stakes winners and grade 1 winners. He's a commercial standout with multiple $1 million sales and a 6-figure yearling average. And with 4 full books bred at 50 and 60,000, he has even more exciting progeny in the pipeline. Union Rags, a stallion that stands above the rest.
And standing for $30,000 in 2021 is Union Rags. Want to bring David Ingordo back in to talk about this sire of recent stakes winners, Gulf Coast, Spielberg, a nice debut winner in Defeater, who was a first out winner at Fairgrounds for Tom Amos. How would you sum up Union Rags, David? Do we have David?
Sorry, Bill. Yep, here.
How would you sum up Union Rags, who we just introduced, who will be standing for $30,000?
I think he's a blue chip stock in the stallion ranks. And, he's gone through a little quiet period, but we were expecting that. And he's come roaring out with his 3-year-olds this year. That defeater had as good a maiden win as you could have. And, you've got Spielberg, who has got to be on anybody's top 10 list for the Derby. And there's a couple other horses out there running around, like Express Train, who's 4 now. We're very high on back at home in California, and another one called Wasp Sprint. I looked it up. He's got, I think, a couple stakes winners this past year already, or in the new year. He's got one for sure. For the money they're asking for him right now, the future looks very bright.
At $30,000 for Union Rags is what he will stand for, and certainly stand out at Lanes End Farm in 2021. Last but certainly not least in this stallion preview for the 2021 roster at Lanes End, we move along to another champion, West Coast.
West Coast champion 3-year-old colt and multiple Grade 1 winner with over $5 million in earnings. He dominated the Pennsylvania Derby by more than 7 lengths and went wire to wire in the Travers, defeating all 3 classic winners.
I would say the Travers was his best performance. He just got out there with that big frame of his, and he just galloped away from a fantastic field of horses.
A descendant of the AP Indy sire line, West Coast stands to continue that legacy at Lanes End.
And doing so for $20,000, an insane pedigree, has the looks. And Chance Tim, Lanes End, joins me again here on this Lanes End Press Pass. Chance, what have been your impressions in the time now that you've got a chance to spend around this classy colt?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. I mean, he's a very strong, imposing type horse. He was an expensive yearling, $420,000 purchase picked out by Ben Glass. He's by flatter. He's a champion out of a champion. He's off to a great start. And really for me, I think this horse fits the mold of what is Lanes End. Lanes End has built a reputation of producing classic sires. And this horse has every opportunity to be just that. He's got first foals on the ground, now just turned yearlings, which we're excited about. Very similar to him. They're very strong, forward, powerful type horses. This horse physically is, the type of horse that a trainer like Bob Baffert loves. He's very strong and robust, has great structure to him, bone and foot, and he can withstand a great amount of training. There was, during his 3-year-old career, he went on that 5-race win streak where he was as good as any horse in the nation. In fact, only Gunrunner proved too good, the eventual horse of the year. So, as it sometimes do in this market, they forget just how good he was. But, a champion, 117 buyer, 5 triple-digit buyers. And as I said, from what we've seen so far from his foals, he's passing on that strength and robustness and constitution that made him such a great racehorse. And, we'll cross our fingers and hope that he can pass that on to his foals.
$20,000 is what West Coast will stand for. Everything that you'd want in a stallion. So we look forward to seeing his opportunities moving forward. As far as the Lanes End stallion roster, 21 stallions from $5,000 to $150,000, just about anything that breeders will want here for this upcoming breeding season. All right, with that, we are now going to open the floor to questions. And again, this is how we can ask you to minimize audio issues, is by raising your hand virtually. And you can do so by clicking on the participants button in the lower center of your screen. That's where that button is located. We'll look for the raise your hand button on the lower right, and then look for the raise your hand button on the lower right portion of your panel. And that's how we will call upon you in order to call upon you to get your questions here for this Q&A session, and I will do my absolute best in order to do it in a timely manner as we will sort through this. And our first question will come from Mr. Tom Law, who I'm sure will be checking in from Saratoga. First of all, good afternoon, Tom. What's your question?
Afternoon, guys. Appreciate the Farishes and everybody at Lane's End for hosting today, and appreciate you, Scott, showing me some nice weather here in snowy Saratoga. So it's been a good winter so far. But I appreciated the comments from John Sheriffs, where he talked a little bit about Honor AP and how he was not really mature at 2, and he talked about him being an athlete ahead of his class. We know he beat Authentic. I'm just curious maybe to hear from somebody from the Lane's End team just about how he's matured since he's been at the farm, and also maybe to comment a little bit about just how good of a racehorse he really was.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. I'll let David talk on him in a second, but he was a horse, obviously, that being the highest priced son of Honor Code in his first crop. David picked him out at Saratoga, and we obviously were following him very closely, and we kept getting great reports from the Mayberries down in Florida when he was being broken, and again, kind of at the head of his class, but sort of a big baby at that point. And it's the really good ones that are immature but yet show that kind of talent all along. And David, I'm happy for you to add into this, but he's a horse we're very excited about. We obviously wanted to see more from him. There was just so much there, and he would have been a phenomenal 3-year-old later in the year. He ran a tremendous race in the Derby, and if you go back and look at that, the distance he ran and the time he ran, it really was. I know that doesn't always equate to a win, but he really ran a super race, and unfortunately that was his last. So, but we'll go forward with him with a lot of excitement as far as what his stallion career could hold. David, are you there?
Yeah, Bill really said it all very well. I'm not much of a tweeter, but if you look in my timeline, when the horse was just in the round pen, I was down there and they were putting the rider up, and he showed he was special from the first day we started lunging him, and he never looked back. When John got him in, I think he told, he thinks, oh, David, you like all your horses. And I was being a little bit waxing poetic prematurely, but the first time he breathed him, he said, okay, you're right. And it went on from there. And, we were heartbroken what happened at the Derby, because there's only one Derby, whether it's in May or September. And then to get, injured in a race and not build this that we've on our side of the equation. Is breeding 7 or 8 mares to him this year. I'm going to probably buy a couple more in January. We're supporting him. We're going to buy him at the sales, and we're going to treat him like he won some of these big races that he was kind of robbed of the opportunity to run in.
And he's one of those horses that really, from the day that he showed up out here on the West Coast, I think people were just simply enamored with the way that he looked, and certainly still maintains that look. Another thing too, we reminded you at the top, if you want to utilize the chat room to ask a question, go ahead and do so. We'll be monitoring that chat room. But Joe Nevels has been very patient here with his hand raised. And Joe, go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead and fire away on the question. Joe, how are you?
Doing good. Happy New Year, everyone. So my question for you is, you have 2 stallions who recently spent a year standing abroad and then came to Lane's End afterward in the Factor, and your newcomer Daredevil. Obviously, Daredevil came from a different situation. He wasn't yours before standing here, but beyond that, how do the 2 stallions compare and contrast in terms of how they've been presented since they've been back, how they've been received, and really just kind of their general career trajectories after spending that kind of semester abroad?
That's a good question. They're very different horses. Obviously, Daredevil just came out of nowhere in some ways. I don't think many breeders saw it coming. I mean, he certainly has all the credentials. We love the fact that he's by more than ready and gives breeders that opportunity to keep that line going. And he's just a very exciting horse. It's a very strange scenario, and it's something that we're excited to take on, because it's very unique that the Turkish Jockey Club continues to own the horse. And I don't think they've ever done that. Stood a horse abroad, and he's they're sort of it's unique because they buy horses obviously for their breeders to breed to, and for them to recognize the value of this horse over here is interesting. And there were a lot of farms after him, and we were all trying to position ourselves with a scenario that made the most sense to them. And they went from wanting to sell the whole horse to wanting to keep the whole horse. They went a complete circle. So he's very different. I mean, the Factor had been kind of a globetrotter. He went to Australia for 3 years. He started here. He went to Japan for one North American breeding season. And then, he's just a phenomenally consistent horse. It gets a very sound horse. And, for a stallion like him to be number 8 on the sire list, and just doing it the hard way, just with a lot of good stakes winners, graded stakes winners, and throws the odd grade 1 winner at you every now and then. And so he's the kind of horse that I think will be around for a long time. And, he's very popular with breeders, and he gets you a good looking yearling that, and then trainers obviously love him because they stick around.
All right, Joe, appreciate the question there. And we look forward to seeing what he can do next year in the United States Daredevil. Another hand raised virtually, Katie Ritz. Let's bring in Katie for the question as she's unmuted. Good afternoon, Katie.
How are you doing?
Doing great. What's your question?
I just wanted to follow up with those comments on Daredevil, and just if you could talk about your relationship with the Turkish Jockey Club and kind of what the plan is with him, if he might be going back or if he's here at Lane's End to stay.
Yeah, it's a great question, Katie, because he's we've seen on social media that some of the breeders over there aren't too happy with him being moved over here, and that they think he's coming right back. But they've certainly given us no indication that that's what they want to do. He can earn quite a bit of money here as being a stallion and kind of cash flowing for the Turkish Jockey Club. So they really wanted him to be successful here and for him to stay here for the duration of his career. And I suppose if he were to fall in popularity here, they would definitely entertain maybe bringing him back there. But I think that's going to be a few years down the road if it were to happen, and I don't anticipate that.
All right, Katie, we appreciate it. Joe, I see your hand. Joe Neville's your hand. Is it back up or is it stayed up? I believe it maybe is stayed up based on his facial expression there. Joe, do you have another question? No, he does not. Okay, Joe does not have another question here in the Q&A portion of this Lane's End press pass. I do have a question though, Bill. Just looking at this and going through each individual stallion and looking at their accomplishments and their physicality, how important is it to give breeders all of these options when you've got a horse that stands for $5,000 on upwards and all parts in between up to $150,000? How important is that for the mission at Lane's End?
Well, it's very important. I mean, they you're gonna, if you stand enough stallions, you're gonna hit all the price points, whether you want to or not. We'd probably prefer for them all to be at 150,000, but it doesn't quite work that way. And we've got some very successful horses they're very fairly priced, and certainly COVID has had an effect on some of those stud fees. We've tried to be responsive to the breeders and put the fees at fair levels. there's been a bit of a pause in the yearling market, and I think we anticipate it to come right back, but you can't really expect breeders to take that kind of flyer. So we've lowered some of our prices, and I think they're responding really well.
What have you learned from 2020, Bill?
I don't know where to start. I think we're if we weren't all on this call right now, we would be watching what's going on in Congress, and I think we're still learning stuff from 2020. But it's crazy I don't think any of us anticipated things going the route that it's gone. I think our sport has shown its resilience, being able to get back to racing before other sports were able to get back to playing. And we just all long for all the things that we missed this year. On our very predictable calendars, we all have very similar predictable calendars, and they became very unpredictable this year. So I think I'm going to appreciate all those things a lot more next year. Hopefully, they all come off according to plan. But it's been a very fascinating time for sure.
It sure has. Just saw a couple of hands go up. I'll go in order. Ray Pollock, the Pollock Report, just raising his hand. Good afternoon, Ray.
How you guys doing? A question for Bill. When you go out looking for stallions, there's a lot of competition out there, obviously. Do you guys have a certain lane that you get into that maybe other farms don't, that what boxes are you trying to tick, or are there some non-negotiables in terms of?
Well, it's a good question, Ray. There's some things take us out of boxes that we'd like to be in. When it turns into an all-out bidding war for 100% of a stallion, we're probably not going to be in that market. We syndicate all our stallions. We think that having those breeders supporting the stallions and having a vested interest alongside of us is very important. So if a stallion gets out of the realm of a share price that we would recommend to our breeders, we can't chase him. And some of these farms that are breeding such huge books can offer more money. So we're up against that a little bit, but we think we've had a pretty good run. We've got a bunch of young horses that we're excited about, and so we really need to find those horses like with the Wests, where they want to stay in for a big piece, or where the owner wants to stay involved with the horse instead of just sell him out.
All right, Ray, appreciate it. Eric Mitchell, the Blood Horse, the next hand to be raised. Eric, go ahead and unmute yourself. There he is. Good afternoon, Eric.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Bill. Thanks to everyone at Lane's End for continuing this event. We all wish we could be at the stud barn right now, but so it is. As you said, strange times this year. This question is related to Game Winner. I mean, y'all have a lot of experience with Candy Ride. You've now got a lot of experience with Twirling Candy. From working with those two stallions, seeing what works, mare types, pedigrees, that sort of thing, what kind of insight does that give you for a Game Winner?
Well, it definitely is an advantage. Game Winner introduces some AP Indy on the bottom, so it takes a lot of those mares out. The AP Indy sire line mares obviously have worked well with Candy Ride. So we're looking to other sire lines to cross with him. But again, there's such a positive vibe out there for Sons of Candy Ride, thanks to Twirling Candy, to Gun Runner, to Mastery, to others that are out there and that are young and on the rise. So it's an easy sell, and hopefully it'll be an easy sell in year 2 and 3, which has become more and more difficult.
All right, taking a look at our participants. Any other questions? I don't see any other hands risen. No questions in the chat room. Final opportunity to ask a question of the Lanes End team, reflecting on 2020, looking ahead to 2021. Some great questions from some of the top journalists in this game, and not seeing any more, Bill. So I'm going to let you go ahead and put a cap on this press pass for 2021.
Great. Well, I thank everybody for coming and being on this. I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, but we really appreciate it. It's an event that we really love doing, and we don't want to see it die. So we're doing it with Zoom, and we appreciate you all being on it. But anyway, again, thanks so much for doing this, and we appreciate it, the opportunity to highlight our stallions and our roster. And we look forward to next year where we can be back in a newly renovated stallion barn.
Well, we look forward to seeing that, Bill. Always a pleasure to catch up, and I'm sure a lot of us will be crossing paths at the upcoming sale, the Keeneland January sale. So thank you all for joining us on behalf of Lanes End. Have a great 2021, everybody, as that wraps up our Lanes End Press Pass virtually.